This is a lesson on how to tie your belt. There are two types of belts that we use here in Taekwondo. The belts that we use for white all the way up to the first recommended black belts are single wrap belts. That means they go once around the waist. And so I'm going to demote myself to white belt in order to demonstrate how a single wrap belt would be tied. You just bring it from the back around to the front of your body, making sure that it's not twisted anywhere in the back, and then get the ends even. And now what we're going to do is called a square knot. It's pretty simple. You're going to do one knot with the left on top and one knot with the right on top. And when you've done that, it'll look like a pair of lips. And that's the square knot. So to do that a little more slowly, the idea is that whichever end is going on top is going to do all the work. So if I'm using my left hand, I'm putting the left end on top, that end then goes around and comes up through in order to form a knot. Now for the second knot, I'm going to start with the right hand. That one's going to go on top, around, and come up through the hole so that I have my square knot. Now it doesn't matter which order you do it in. You can go left over right, followed by right over left, or you could go right over left, followed by left over right. It'll work either way. It'll just make the knot point a different direction, but that doesn't matter. The important thing is that the top end does all the work on the knot, and you do a different end for the starting proportion of the knot each time. The second type of belt that we use is the black belt, and that's a double wrap belt. It's a lot more difficult to tie. We also use double wraps in the jiu-jitsu program, so for those of you in leadership who are doing the rolling sessions and are wearing the jiu-jitsu uniforms or gis, you'll be tying a double wrap belt for that as well. So here's how you do a double wrap belt. There's actually two approaches. I'm going to show you first the easier approach, which is not the preferred approach. It's easier to learn, but it doesn't look as clean when you're actually in the process of doing it. Here's how it works. If you're using a black belt, which has your name on one side and then some Korean on the other side, it does matter how you start. If you're using a jiu-jitsu belt, it matters in a different way because you have the stripes. But the basic idea is your rank is going to need to end up on the left. And if it's a jiu-jitsu belt, that's the stripes that are going to end up on the left. So we're going to start with the opposite side, with the black belt, the Korean, with the jiu-jitsu belt, the blank end. And we're going to start with it on the right side of our body. If we're using a black belt, we have the Korean, or the lettering pointing in toward the stomach. And now we're just going to go around once and around a second time. And we're making sure, again, that there's no twisting in the back. We're also making sure that the belt is not separated like this in the back. We want it to come together all as a single belt. So once we've gotten this far, we now pull this end out from underneath, and with a loose grip on the belt so that it's not wrapped too tightly around your stomach, you just pull until the ends are even. Now I'm going to take this right side where I had pulled the end out, I'm going to grip it so that I'm holding both layers of the belt together, keeping it as a single belt. And now the end that's on the outside, the end that had already been out here, is going to come underneath both layers and come up. So now the entire belt is held together all the way around. Now you'll see at this point, one end kind of points up, one end kind of points down. The end that points up is going to do all the work from here on out. It's going to cross on top, around, and through, pulling tightly so that you end up with your square knot with the rank on the left. And as you get better at this, you'll be able to do it so that it doesn't get twisted up as you tie the knot, and everything will look real smooth. So that's one way to do it. That's the easy way to learn it. But here's the more professional way to tie the belt. Rather than starting with one end up against your stomach, you're going to start with the belt folded in half. And you're going to want your name, or if it's a jiu-jitsu belt, your rank stripes, to be on the right-hand side. Again, if you're using a black belt, you want the Korean pointing in toward your body. So you're just going to take the center of the belt, put it right in the center of your stomach, wrap around, crossing behind your back, but holding the belt entirely together. Then when you come back, you have one hand holding both layers of the belt, the other hand holding one end. This is where we were in the previous method when we had pulled one end out to make the ends even. So now this end is just going to go underneath just as before, holding the entire belt together. One end points up, one points down. The one that's pointing up crosses on top, comes around through the hole, and we've got our square knot again with the rank on the left-hand side.